It's Justice Thursday. We have a Justice Thursday conversation. We try to have conversations around justice and justice-related matters every Thursday morning, and we'll have one today, bail and bond. We've had a conversation on bail and bond before. We want to continue with that conversation again with the Honourable Tito Gesora, who is the Chief Magistrate of the Makadara Law Courts, and the Honourable Muthoni Njagi, who is Principal Magistrate and CSO National Coordinator. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
Your Honours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Karibuni. This is the hot seat of the Situation Room.
No, these are the hot seats of the Situation Room.
Them with the day's Proverb City.
Yes, the whole of this week we've been looking at proverbs from the Republic of Botswana. Last week, this week, and the following week, we've been looking at landlocked countries. Now, this is a question we ask our guests so that we can test just a little knowledge. Little. Mention one landlocked country and don't mention Uganda.
Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Central African Republic.
You sure? Try another one. Do not worry, I also didn't do geography. Maybe beyond Form 2. This knowledge I acquired when I was researching on this thing. So I sound knowledgeable, but it's because I've been reading.
Oh, yeah. Ethiopia.
Okay. You're not doing too badly. At least you know 2 countries in Africa. This is good. No, you're okay.
At least you're aware.
Yes, that is. Ethiopia.
You are right even on the Central African Republic.
Yeah.
You're very right, actually.
Yes.
But it's good to pull you.
I know what you thought. It has to be somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
And Central
Africa
is middle.
And then you mentioned Chad. I was like, yeah.
And Chad is just above. Yes.
Okay, the proverb?
Son-in-law, hasten. The marriage cattle are gone.
Son-in-law, hasten. The marriage cattle are
Gone.
Mm-hmm. Start, Honourable Gesora. What's your interpretation of that proverb?
Son-in-law, hasten. The marriage cattle are gone. I can't even do it. I never even imagined you would say something like that.
We were trying to figure out what is this. First of all, what's just the literal translation of this? What is the proverb saying? Son-in-law,
Hasten.
The marriage cattle are gone. What do you think, Honorable Njagi? What's happening here? Who's talking to the son-in-law?
And by the way, you cannot be wrong. When you ask for your interpretation of a proverb, it is your interpretation.
I think I'm overthinking.
Yes.
So there's an in-law speaking.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a marriage situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right. And what do you think they're saying? At what point will you say that the marriage cattle are gone?
What does that mean?
You never finish dowry.
Mm-hmm.
You never finish dowry in most African societies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably just a reminder that, please, son-in-law, don't forget that you've got relatives on this side. And you need to come every so often and see us.
That is a beautiful interpretation. Yes.
Everyone.
Very beautiful interpretation. Give it a stab.
She's still overthinking.
No, I think also it could mean that. Okay, let me just think like a woman.
Please.
So it could mean that probably this son-in-law is not paying much attention, or his attention is diverted. So he's being told to just hasten before the bride takes off.
Good interpretation. On a scale of 1 to 10, you both gotten 10.
It's interesting.
Yes, because with a proverb, it's how it resonates with you. Yes, it's not whether is it right. It can't be wrong. Yes. The only time it might be wrong is if you say, well, these guys have replaced the cows with the donkey. Now that
one. Okay, let's get into our conversation. Today we want to talk about bail and bond and just get to understand what bail and bond means and what the terms are, all right? But let's begin with the Chief Magistrate of the Makadara Law Courts. You're the head of station?
Yes, by the
Okay.
grace of God.
What does that... Makadara is a very, very, very busy court station.
Extremely
Extremely.
busy. I think the busiest in Eastern Central, if you asked me.
Eastern Central.
Africa.
What? How many courts do you have there?
We have 10 courts. Now, we used to have 11. Unfortunately, because of the incident that occurred there, we've lost one. So we have 10.
Okay.
Yes, we have 10.
Handling what kind of cases?
Criminal cases only. And then, of course, traffic and petty offenses. So we don't do civil. We don't do land cases. We just do criminal cases.
What's the bulk of the cases that come there?
Bulk violent robberies, grievous harms, assaults, a lot of the sexual offenses and gender-based violence cases, obtainings by false pretenses, and of course a lot of illicit liquor. There's a lot of that. We've got lots of traffic cases also.
Nairobi kona changa mingi hivyo.
Mingi sana. And you won't believe it.
What?
You know, as you're speaking, I have to ask this question. Do members of your court, that entire system, do you people have a place where you debrief? Do you get psychological counseling? Do you get it? Because every single day you're either dealing with a murderer or a thief or a rapist for heaven's sake.
Yes, our employer has been so gracious. We've got medical access to Chiromo, and every other time stations organize retreats for their members. So yes, we do get time to go back and lay back and not do the normal thing that we normally do, and just call in somebody to speak to us and help us.
It's not enough. You actually need to have people who talk to you, not every once in a while, systematically, periodically, after a month, person to person to person. Walk through what you've gone through, because everything you do, you internalize.
I agree.
Now, let's get on with this.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Njagi, we've introduced you as CSO National Coordinator. What does that mean?
All right, so CSO is basically community service orders. So it's an alternative sentence to imprisonment. So what CSO does is really just sentence when people are sentenced by courts to conduct unpaid public work. So unpaid public work is really could be clean out of drainages, just public, and it's unpaid as a form of sentence, as a form of punishment, exactly. So essentially the people who qualify for that are people who are being charged with petty offenses. Yes, so they perform that work for a period of time to a maximum of 6 months, and then it's supervised by probation officers. So what that means now, being the coordinator, is that I work together with probation officers. So I'm attached to the probation department for a period of time. And then there now we're able to coordinate that between the two state agencies, which is essentially judiciary and the probation department, to ensure that the program is successful.
So a judicial officer will sentence somebody in their court
Yes,
to community service
yes.
for 3 months. But the judicial officer is not going to say, I sentence you to slash grass in Kariako market for 3 months.
No.
It's just be to community service.
The probation officer will recommend
Okay.
the site that is available.
After the sentence has been passed?
No.
Or is it before?
Between the conviction and the sentencing, they provide a report to the court, and they will say this person is
These are
suitable.
our needs.
These are, yes, yeah, actually, that's a good way to say it. These are our needs. Probably we need Marikiti cleaned, or this school needs a landscaping program, and they recommend specifically and say, this person to perform this work, we recommend in this particular site.
How does the probation officer determine the needs?
They have work sites. They have CSO work sites
Okay.
within their. They know them. They are the ones who know them because they're the ones who supervise.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is it that they are working with the schools? Are they working
Yes,
with the
they
county? So the county tells them.
They know what is there in the community, isn't it?
Yes.
They know the schools, they know the hospitals, they know the markets. We have got people who work with ward admins, so they know where the projects are. They have done their research, they have listened them, so they know where to ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, they've got those people there who head those institutions to help them supervise the people.
Okay. Now, let's come now into the bond bail, and then let's see how then that ties in to community service. So introduce us, what is bond, what is bail? Multana police bond, cash bail. Never get to understand what these things are. Free bond. Yes.
So now, bail is an agreement. It's really an agreement that the accused or whoever posts that bail will come to honor either an attendance to court or an attendance before the police. And so they say that, yes, we are ready to forfeit a certain amount of money if we don't come. And many times, they actually deposit the money they have said they're going to forfeit. And so that forces them to have to come. Otherwise, they forfeit their money and they will be looked for and arrested. Bond is you guaranteeing your undertaking. It's an undertaking, really. Undertaking that you will appear as and when required, with or without a surety.
Repeat that again, please.
Saying that you undertake that you're going to come and appear before court at the time set or time given.
I, the accused.
Yes, you bind yourself.
I bind myself.
That you undertake that you will come to appear as and when you are required, and that can be with or without surety. Otherwise, you forfeit a certain amount of money that is set in the bond.
Explain surety.
A surety is an individual who comes and says, release Eric. And I assure you that I will ensure that Eric comes to court. If he doesn't come to court and if he absconds, I am willing to forfeit the amount that you have set.
I came to your courts once to do that. That is why I wanted to be sure.
Yes.
There are relative of mine.
You are surety for someone?
Yes, there's a relative of mine who couldn't distinguish between what was his and what was his employer's.
The employer had marked them badly.
Yes. And they looked the same.
Yeah. So by mistake, he took what was an employer's.
Yes, he did. But the problem was it was more than one employer, so it became a bit tricky.
So when they say
Yes.
that somebody has been released on a bond of 500,000 shillings and the surety of a similar amount,
Yes.
what does that mean?
It means that the gentleman has, or whoever it is, the accused.
It's Eric.
It's Eric. Eric has bound himself, and the surety has come to assure that the money will be paid if it is required.
Okay.
And
Yes.
that surety has, if I'm your surety, I've come with my title deed worth that amount, or maybe my logbook, or just something that I deposit in court, so that in the event that you abscond court, we'll forfeit this particular.
I see.
And if you're not able to, then you serve a period of time. You can be sentenced to, you can serve the time, or you pay the amount that Eric was supposed to pay.
So the surety only risks losing the property that they've brought to court, or do they also
They can
risk
face jail
losing-
time.
You
Even
can
the
face
surety?
jail time.
Yes, because if you don't pay the amount, and if you don't produce the accused,
Yeah.
and then we come to your
I had put in-
the property that you had put in.
There was a logbook.
Probably the car is, maybe you have done something, the car has disappeared, the car cannot be sold for that amount, you're not able to, make good your promise, then you can go in for 6 months.
So did you know?
Yes, it was explained to me. There was a very kind gentleman who explained all these things to me, and I asked what it is that I needed to provide as surety. They asked me what I did then. I told them I was an employee of a government parastatal. They asked me for evidence. I removed the ID, and they said, "Do you have a pay slip?" I said, "I had a pay slip." They looked at it and said, "Aye. Yani kuna watu wanalipa pesa hii Kenya." Yes,
And that was enough.
yeah, it was enough. They said you're
Qualified.
You work for the government.
Yeah.
We can see there's evidence. It is fine. We will take your word for it, but we'll keep a copy of this payslip of yours, and your relative can go. But please assure him that he must distinguish clearly between what he owns and what his employers own.
Yeah. The purpose is just to ensure that the accused person attends court.
Yes.
It's a form of security to ensure that he attends court.
That's it.
That's the purpose.
That's the
Because
purpose.
it is just saying you get this one or you go to remand.
Yes.
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 It's to give you that freedom during that
Give
time.
you that freedom,
Yes.
and also to ensure you come to court.
Okay.
So in the alternative, because if you're in prison, for sure you will attend court. there is a vehicle that will
You
ensure
are
you
in a
attend.
state entity and you will go to the next.
You will come to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always a state scholarship.
How
Yes.
how does a judicial officer decide, first of all, whether to go for bail or bond, and then how much?
Most times you find that a judicial officer will give either or. You can say bond with surety in like amount, or in the alternative cash bail so much, right? And so it most times will be either or. And in small offenses you just give cash because sometimes the process can be a little bit tedious.
Yeah.
Of verifying the documents that you have brought. And so it is either or. Someone may come and say, I'm not able to meet either or. Please give it to me free. And I give you my word that I will come. So many times we engage the probation and aftercare services to go to the community, find out about the person. Does he have relatives? Does he have family support? Is he gainfully employed? Can he be trusted?
Does he have a fixed abode?
Does he have a fixed abode? You see? So once they bring this report, then you can tell that this person can be trusted to come back. Then you can say, okay, I give you a personal bond of Kenya shillings 100,000. You go and come. If you don't come,
you still put money into that thing.
no, it's a sum. You have to tell him that
Why
if he
did
doesn't come, not only are we going to arrest you, but we are going to demand a certain amount from you.
If you don't come.
Yes.
Yeah. Back to ensuring you attend
Okay.
court.
The whole idea is to make sure that you commit yourself
Yes.
Yes.
to attending court
Yes.
or to police if you're required to go to
Yes,
police.
yes.
Okay. Are the various bond and bail terms set in law, or is it just for the judicial officer to determine?
It's mostly discretionary, but we have a bail and bond policy, which we are guided by, which was launched in the year 2015. So basically, what the determinants are the nature of the offense, whether this guy is somebody who is a repeat offender, maybe this is not the first time he's been sentenced in court. Has he ever absconded before? Like, there are many other factors that we look at.
Is he likely to be a danger
Is
to
he
the
likely to be a
witnesses?
danger to the witnesses or the community? Sometimes even complainants will come and say this guy is threatening us. We also obviously, there are so many factors that we look
Is
at.
he safe?
Is
himself?
he safe himself? Because there are guys you try release, people come and tell you, we are waiting for him like this.
Oyu
Aland to
Tamaliza.
Oyu
Yes.
Tamaliza.
What?
Yes, so there are various, but we are really guided by the bail and bond policy, and also it's a constitutional right. Every accused person has a right to be released on bail and bond. Of course, whether there are compelling reasons or not is another matter altogether.
Okay. Our Justice Thursday conversation is underway. Today we are discussing bail and bond. Do you understand what they mean when you're told, wewe unaweka bail, wewe unatoa cash bail, wewe umeitishwa bond, umeitishwa body. Your body. Title deed. What do you understand what this all is all about or what it means? That's why we have the Honorable Tito Gesora. He's the Chief Magistrate at what he says is East Africa's busiest court station, the Makadara Law Courts, and the Honorable Muthoni Njagi, the Principal Magistrate and the National Coordinator of the Committee Service Orders. City?
Mm-hmm. When people get arrested for whatever offense, I'm speaking anecdotally here, there are times one gets the impression that there are certain offenses that wait for certain days, like Friday. And there are certain arrests that wait for a certain time, like 2 p.m. Because the window to comply with the requirements of the court are then significantly reduced. For instance, if by the time you're arrested and processed, by the time you get before the magistrate, it's heading towards 4 o'clock. And if something is required of you, whether it's a bond, or these legal requirements, and if it does require you to produce either some money or you're supposed to require to produce something of value, and you aren't walking with it or you don't have it on your person, it then becomes rather tricky for you to comply.
Mm-hmm.
How does one deal with this? I said, as a disclaimer, I'm speaking anecdotally. It's not as though this is planned. I'm just saying it appears that way.
It's just an observation.
It's an observation, yes. And not a very keen observation, just a general observation. Yeah.
Our institutions are independent institutions. Courts are independent with a specific mandate. Police have got their own mandate under the law. The Director of Public Prosecution has also his independence. So they decide. We wait. We do not say, okay, now bring these kind of things on a Friday afternoon only. We don't say that. The discretion when and where to charge remains with the relevant institutions.
Yeah.
Ours is restricted to waiting and hearing and determining on the basis of evidence whether this was right or not in the first place.
Do your stations, do the registries close, the bail and bond registries? Because then if someone has come to court and let's say they've gone before the judicial officer at 3 p.m. and you've told me, release me on a bond of 1 million shillings and a surety of a similar amount. Now I have to first of all look for the million bob, and then I need to be in contact with somebody to be my surety, and all these things will take time. Will I go to the registry and be told, by the way, boss, walienda kitambo, kuja kesho? Does it happen?
Ideally it should not. We close our registries at 5 p.m. even on a Friday. But there are instances where you're not processed in time. That's the truth. For example, if you're brought into court at 4 and 5 o'clock reaches, honestly, you may not be processed in time. And sometimes I would call it systemic challenges. Yes, those ones are there, but ideally we close our registries at 5. Yes, whether Monday to Friday.
What do the guidelines say? Should this not be open? Should it not be extended?
24/7?
You mean 24/7?
Yes.
No.
Look, justice does not have hours. And this is all in the interest of ensuring that you're delivering justice. So if, for example, a judicial officer has said, I give you bond of this amount, then it's in the furtherance of me getting justice that you also allow me to be able to perform here.
There are court times. Registries open at 8 a.m., close at 5.
Why?
That's a set time.
It's a set, and we are the same. These offices are run by staff, including us. We
See,
also
even
staff
police
of the judiciary.
police are on 24 hours.
Yes, police are on
police
24
are on
hours.
24 hours.
A time will come, and this idea has been mooted where we can have courts that run on 24-hour basis, even at night. And they have not quite, especially, I think there was a thought that JKIA court could be open because of passengers who are on transit. Maybe they are foreigners, they are on transit, a crime has been committed.
Yep.
So there is a thought, yes. But for the regular ones, like Makadara, Milimani, where it's Kawaida, the Kawaida courts, time is 8 to 5.
Or at least just extend the time to 8 p.m. or something for this particular registry.
So look at it this way, Eric.
Okay.
You have got, this is an ecosystem.
Yes.
All right? You have got courts, you've got prison.
Yeah.
If the prisons have got time within which they must count their lockdown
receive remandees.
and receive the remandees,
Yeah.
all right? If you don't do that, then it will spoil eating time, right?
Yep.
Remandees have to be fed.
Yep.
So if you disrupt that ecosystem, then you have a problem.
But police stations have holding facilities.
They have cells.
Yes.
Yes.
Some courts have holding facilities.
No.
No, they are.
We have just got
Just
holding
temporary.
cells, temporary holding
Temporary.
cells while the case is going on.
Now, this is wonderful. What stops courts from actually having cells where people can spend the night? I'm venturing. This is not something that... You see, I'm asking the question that if you can't open an entire court like, say, the
Makadara.
what do I call it?
Madaraka.
The other place.
Makadara, this one, Makadara is that one. The one I went to is Makadara. Okay, that one. Is it then possible to have a unit, for instance, that deals with cases that are late, or certain police facilities that then deal with certain cases? Because, again, it is clear that the process of arresting people does not have a timetable. The process of getting people to court is how much has a timetable and a time. Because crime doesn't have a timetable that this crime will be committed at this time. So you're ready to commit and take to court. When it happens, those who are in charge of ensuring security do their thing, and they also go through the processes. I'm simply asking this. What threshold would we need to have in order for considerations to be made to go beyond what we now call the normal and regular times?
You are likely to interfere with institutional mandates. So courts will be there to not to hold people because they're not trained for that, they're not mandated for that, right? So if you say that you have facilities where people can sleep in court, then you will interfere with the institutional mandates.
Police stations that cater for this? Is it possible?
Yes, but you see, like prisons are more, trained and set for that.
They're the ones that are set for that.
Yes.
Honorable Gesora, you'll soon be a judge. And then you'll also sit in the JSC.
And as things go, you may even end up in the appellate court and become a Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Anyway, continue, Eric.
The National Council on the Administration of Justice brings all these institutions together.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
So that we can make sure that there's justice being served on all, and all institutions are then playing that game. These are conversations that can happen at the NCAJ and say, so you prisons, if there are people who are still in a court station, and your officers are the ones that are at the court station, they're the ones who are going to bring those people who need to be remanded, can keep your kitchen open until 9. You courts, you can keep the registry open until 8. All these things just to make sure that you're giving people that time. This is why I'm asking this, because I've had very many times complaints of especially petty offenders who've gone to court and you have been slapped with a cash bail of 25,000 shillings. This person, mbele na nyuma, to quote the deputy president, hata ukitutoa guo utupige, they will not get that money. Not at that point. But they could try and raise it. So first of all, there's just allowing them that time, either to try and raise it, and then they walk home, because this is a mother who has children at home. This is a father who has children at home, and the mother works night shift. You know, all these kind of dynamics. You're disrupting a homestead and a secure family system because we have to close at 5.
I can tell you that when Honorable Chief Justice Mutunga was the Chief Justice, policy was formulated and brought and said that when a person has been charged and they given a cash bail, give them time to pay before you take them to custody. So they are given time. And if they want to sit somewhere in a corner of a court and make a quiet call for help, they should be allowed to do that.
Are they allowed to do that?
They are allowed to do that. So we tell them, let's say if it's a traffic offense, don't take to people if they are able to pay. In fact, if they are able to pay, they are not taken to the cells. You are given a chance and you're told, okay, you have the money, pay and go. So you're not taken to custody. Going to custody is a last resort. When the prison van has to leave in the evening at 5 and you have not been able to pay, we have no facilities to keep you here. Then we hand you over to the prison.
Prisons.
But during the day, if the plea was read in the morning at 9 a.m., you are given a chance throughout this day to see whether you can be able to pay.
Okay.
Yes.
If you get into that prison van,
Yes.
and you go to the remand prison,
Yes.
okay, because you have not paid, but you're in the, in the kisha tu hivi, then what happens tomorrow? How do you?
So to
If you pay, we ensure the money has come. We write what you call a release order. We give an order to
who is paying? Who is handling my payment? I'm in industry area.
If you have relatives,
Nimelala industry area.
if you have relatives and they have paid, or you have somehow contacted a friend who has paid for you, we will prepare the release order. You will be given your friend will be given the release order. He will come to the gate of the prison and tell them, "Here's the release order for City. Please give him to me."
And he's released. Within the timelines.
Okay. I think let me come to you, Honorable Njagi, because now this is where we are looking at petty offences, whether people are being committed to community service or whether they are, being taken to prison.
Yeah.
But this is community service comes at the end of a conviction and sentencing, right? This is a petty offender who did something will be considered petty. In the end, the punishment will be go and slash grass around the Makadara Law Courts.
Yeah.
But during this other time, the discretion of the judicial officer was, I give you bond of 10,000 shillings and a surety of similar amount. And this person is not able to raise 10,000 shillings. Where is justice here? How do we ensure that this person is not being slapped with something that they cannot really afford?
So there's also a bond review process, by the way. So if a person has stayed in custody for some time, usually if you're in custody, we mention matters every 2 weeks, whether in prison or in court. So every 2 weeks, a remandee must be produced before a magistrate. So at that point, usually, they apply for revision of bond. And of course, the magistrate can use their discretion and review it. Sometimes you need a bail report, pre-bail report, which is written by probation officers, and to list that this person, what my colleague had mentioned, that he comes from this place, we're able to trace him, he's able to come to court, the bond will be reviewed. In a scenario also where a person, when they are first brought to court, they plead guilty, there and then, of course, they'll be sentenced, and sometimes they're sentenced to serve community service for 1, 2 days, 3 days. They serve their time and they go away. So they're just, what do I say? The justice wheel is really, there's a spectrum that we are not able to say that these particular cases are the ones that go this way and these others are the ones that are determined this way. There's just a spectrum, depending. For many petty offenders, the bond terms are, lower, more lenient than for serious offences. For example, you can't compare the bond terms of a person who's charged with creating disturbance. He just yelled around and called people bad names. You can't compare the bond terms for that person with someone who is charged with murder or with defilement.
Yeah.
Or violent robbery.
Or violent robbery, for that matter, or terrorism.
Yes.
Yeah. So for petty offenders, generally, we are more lenient, and that's guided in the law, and which is different from...
There's something called
the reasonableness
and proportion.
And it is determined by the judicial officer.
Okay.
Yes, it's a discretionary
I am
judicial
sure
role.
that both of you have had very many cases of complaints of unreasonable bail and bond terms.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm sure you've had it. And even you, when you listen, you're like, that's a bit too much. How do we address this? Because every one person, there's a case I remember we mentioned here a couple of years back of a lady in Thika who, and it was in the papers, stepped out of the house during COVID. There's a place where they go and dump. Stepped out of the house, went to what they consider the community dump site. Caught there by Kanjo. You're not supposed to be dumping here. Taken to court the following morning. Slapped with, I think, a 25,000 shilling. Is it something like a cash or bond? Left her children at home that night. Cannot raise this money the following morning. You'll ask yourself, okay, so what's the purpose here? Is the purpose to punish?
Absolutely not. The purpose is to punish. Like we said right from the beginning, the purpose is to ensure that if you grant you bail, you will come back. It's to assure you that you will come back.
Yeah.
And there is a process of reviews. You can ask for a review, right? But you see, you have to consider the seriousness of the offense that has been charged. You consider the seriousness of the offense that has been charged, the likely punishment that this person is likely to get if found guilty. That will inform you whether it should be more or less. And if they say that, even if the offense is serious, and they say, I'm the sole breadwinner, I have children to take care of, please consider, I will quickly dispatch. Sometimes we can even put pressure on the probation officer. Say, please, I want this report this afternoon or in 2 days, right? We can put pressure on them to ensure that the report has come so that this person's children don't suffer. He said that in that case, you say that I have left my children all by themselves. Most courts will order the children officer. We've got the children's department. Children's officer for the area, go to the house of this lady and ensure that the children are taken care of.
Okay. We have this remand prison. It's called remand prison, isn't it? And many people who are told by people who've sat on these seats tend to be petty offenders. And a good number of people who are there are forgotten, meaning you were taken there for something or the other. This process that we're talking of, someone didn't come up, you didn't raise the money, so you're taken back there. Now, many of these people can't raise, or the people they know also can't raise, or maybe what they were involved in, the people they know are afraid to bring themselves in because they themselves may get themselves incarcerated. According to what we have been told, there are very many citizens who languish in prisons, and the matters that have kept them there never seem to be resolved. Do we have situations where these things are reviewed? Because we hear of Kenyans who are lost. You can't find them. Some of them may probably be in remand, or maybe who were taken to, and somebody forgot, and that was it. I know this used to happen in the days when people were detained. It is said you're a threat, you're detained. The threat goes, but people forget that you actually didn't. Why? Because I'm simply saying, do we have a review process where we determine that those who have been incarcerated are actually there for the right reason and they ought to be there?
Two things I'll tell you about that.
Yes.
First of all, is that our prison system, I have not seen a more meticulous institution in terms of documentation like the prisons. They know everything. they are kept. And like we've said, there's like on Monday, coming Monday, the Chief Justice is going to the Nairobi remand to launch a process, a program for reviewing bail and bond terms, especially for petty offenders. And this is going to be something that's going to be happening periodically. We sit in a committee that has recommended that we do this on a quarterly basis. Policy is yet to be formulated on that, but we have set our recommendation. And so the Chief Justice will be there on Monday to launch that.
So
program.
just to kickstart this.
To kickstart.
A review of the current bail and bond terms guidelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she starts there, but the thing is going to cascade and go to the rest of the country.
And maybe just to add to what Chief is saying is that really what has informed that is just the congestion in prison. So the Chief Justice found fit within her blueprint to just come and like an intervening, do I call it an intervening measure?
Yep.
Just to come and just see what is happening in remand. And what has happened is that we have lists of the petty offenders who are remanded, especially in industrial area, Langata and there's Nairobi West. And that will be like let me call it a pilot.
Kumbe, you guys are in that committee, the one that we were talking about, the one that can make. So one of the recommendations here, public participation, open the registry until midnight. People will not end up going to congest in that area.
Or better still, open the registry, let people know the names so that people who are claiming relatives, the ones who got lost and you don't know where they went. Okay? Is it possible for that to happen? Just asking.
So just give
we
people more time.
We can recommend, and policy decisions will make at the appropriate level.
The appropriate level, yeah.
But asanteni sana for coming.
Thank you very much.
Please come again and let's keep talking about this.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much for having us.
The Honorable Tito Gesora is the Chief Magistrate at the Makadara Law Courts, the busiest law courts
in East and Central Africa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.